the stars have aligned once again to bring you cosmic revelations that might just explain why certain relationships in your life feel like trying to mix oil and water. Welcome back to another journey through the celestial patterns that shape our personalities and interactions. Today's exploration dives deep into the world of Capricorn, that determined, disciplined mountain goat of the Zodiac who steadily climbs towards success while the rest of us are still figuring out which mountain to climb. If you've ever wondered why that Capricorn friend, partner, or family member seems to bristle around certain people, you're about to discover some astrological insights that might just make everything click into place. We're unveiling the 4 zodiac signs that tend to make even the most patient Capricorn lose their legendary cool. And trust me, when a Capricorn loses patience, the earth literally seems to shake beneath their hooves. The beauty of astrology lies in its ability to help us understand the invisible currents flowing between personalities. It's like having a secret map that explains why some connections feel effortless, while others require constant navigation through rocky terrain. For our practical, grounded Capricorns, certain zodiac energies feel like hurricane winds, threatening to blow apart their carefully constructed lives. There's something fascinating about watching a Capricorn interact with these challenging signs. It's almost like witnessing different languages being spoken simultaneously, each side genuinely baffled by the other's approach to life. The Capricorn stands there, planner in hand, meticulously organized schedule laid out, while these other signs seem to dance around chaos with a smile, leaving our poor goat utterly perplexed. What makes these clashes particularly interesting is that they often stem from fundamental differences in values rather than superficial disagreements. It's not just about preferences or habits, it's about entirely different worldviews colliding. Where Capricorn sees stability as the foundation of happiness, these other signs might view it as stagnation. Where Capricorn values tradition, these signs might champion revolution. Let's pause for a moment and consider what makes Capricorn such a distinctive force in the zodiac. Ruled by Saturn, the taskmaster planet, Capricorns approach life with a seriousness that can be both admirable and intimidating. They are the ones building empires while others are building sandcastles. Their practical nature means they're constantly assessing value, utility, and long-term prospects. They don't just want to know if something feels good now. They want to know if it will still be standing in 20 years. This long-view perspective gives Capricorns their remarkable resilience, but also makes them particularly sensitive to energies that seem frivolous or destabilizing. When they encounter personalities that approach life with what seems like reckless abandon or illogical spontaneity, their internal alarm systems start blaring. It's not that they don't appreciate joy or creativity, it's that they believe these things should be built on solid foundations. The irony, of course, is that these challenging zodiac relationships often offer the greatest growth opportunities. The very qualities that drive Capricorns crazy are precisely the ones they might benefit from incorporating into their own lives. In moderation, of course. A touch of spontaneity, a willingness to question tradition, a bit of fire, and passion. These elements could add color to the sometimes monochromatic Capricorn world. As we explore these 4 challenging zodiac dynamics, remember that no sign is inherently better or worse than another. Each brings unique gifts and perspectives to our collective human experience. The friction between signs isn't a cosmic mistake. It's an invitation to expand our understanding and balance our energies. So, which 4 signs consistently make Capricorns want to retreat back up their mountain for some peace and quiet? Let's begin our astrological investigation with the first sign that typically sends Capricorns reaching for their patience reserves, the ever-changing, perpetually curious Gemini. Number 1. Gemini. The mercurial twins of the zodiac represent the first major cosmic challenge for our steadfast Capricorns. Picture this. A Capricorn has spent weeks meticulously planning a project, creating spreadsheets, timelines, and contingency plans. They've considered every possible variable and mapped out each step with precision that would impress a Swiss watchmaker. Then in walks Gemini, brimming with enthusiasm and brilliant ideas. only to completely change direction 3 times in a single conversation. For a Capricorn, this isn't just frustrating, it's almost physically painful. Geminis exist in a perpetual state of duality and transformation. Ruled by Mercury, the quicksilver messenger planet, they process information at lightning speed and adapt their thinking just as rapidly. Their minds are like kaleidoscopes, constantly shifting to create new patterns of thought and possibility. This mental agility is genuinely impressive, but to a Capricorn, it often reads as inconsistency, or worse, unreliability. The fundamental disconnect happens at the level of decision-making. Capricorns approach decisions like architects constructing a cathedral, with careful consideration, an awareness that each choice creates the foundation for future choices, and the understanding that changing course midway can collapse the entire structure. Geminis, however, see decisions more like jazz musicians improvising. Each choice is a note in an evolving composition, and changing direction isn't just acceptable, it's often necessary for creating something beautiful and authentic. This difference manifests in countless small interactions that gradually build into significant tension. A Capricorn and Gemini might agree to meet for coffee at 2 p.m. The Capricorn arrives at 1:55, having allocated exactly 45 minutes for this meeting before their next commitment. The Gemini texts at 2:10 suggesting a different cafe because they just heard about an amazing new pastry chef, then arrives at 2:25 with an entirely different proposal for how to spend the afternoon. The Capricorn's carefully structured day crumbles before their eyes, triggering their deepest anxieties about chaos and wasted effort. Communication styles create another layer of frustration. Geminis communicate to explore ideas. Speaking is a thinking process for them, and they may verbalize 10 different perspectives before landing on what they actually believe. This approach feels intellectually dishonest to Capricorns, who carefully formulate their thoughts before speaking and expect others to do the same. A Gemini might say, "I think we should go with the blue design," only to argue passionately for the red design 10 minutes later. To a Capricorn, this feels like gaslighting. To a Gemini, it's simply the natural evolution of thought. Even their relationship with time diverges dramatically. Capricorns have profound respect for time as a finite resource that must be managed with discipline. They understand that consistent effort over time builds mountains of achievement. Geminis, meanwhile, experience time more subjectively, expanding and contracting based on their interest level and mental engagement. When excited about something, they can hyper-focus with remarkable intensity, but this focus may evaporate without warning when a new interest appears on the horizon. The irony is that both signs are actually quite intellectual, but they process information through completely different frameworks. Capricorns build knowledge systematically, creating solid mental structures that connect new information to established understanding. They value expertise and depth. Geminis collect diverse information from countless sources, creating vast networks of associations that allow for creative connections across disparate fields. They value breadth and versatility. When collaborating, these differences can create scenarios where both parties feel profoundly misunderstood. A Capricorn might spend hours researching and developing a thorough proposal, only to have a Gemini breeze in with a completely different approach based on an article they read that morning. The Capricorn feels their hard work has been disregarded, while the Gemini feels the Capricorn is stubbornly attached to one perspective when better options exist. Social gatherings highlight another layer of incompatibility. Capricorns approach social interaction strategically. They build relationships carefully over time, remember important details about others, and maintain consistent personas across different contexts. Geminis are social chameleons who adapt their energy and conversation style to each person they engage with. To Capricorns, this shape-shifting quality feels inauthentic or manipulative, while Geminis find the Capricorn's consistency somewhat rigid and unresponsive to the unique dynamics of each social situation. Even their approach to personal growth creates friction. Capricorns improve themselves through structured programs, measurable goals, and consistent practice. They might commit to a fitness regimen and follow it religiously for years. Geminis evolve through exploration and variety. They might try yoga, then rock climbing, then dance, gathering insights from each experience before moving to the next. Capricorns see this as dilettantism, while Geminis view the Capricorn approach as unnecessarily limiting. The communication breakdown extends to emotional expression as well. Capricorns process emotions privately, often sharing feelings only after thorough reflection and in measured terms. Geminis process emotions through conversation, sometimes working through contradictory feelings in real-time dialogue. A Gemini might express anger, then sadness, then amusement in quick succession, leaving the Capricorn emotionally whiplashed and uncertain about how to respond appropriately. What makes this cosmic clash particularly poignant is that both signs often find themselves inexplicably drawn to each other, despite the frustration. Geminis are fascinated by Capricorn's depth and certainty, while Capricorns secretly admire Gemini's mental agility and social ease. There's a recognition that each possesses qualities the other lacks, a classic case of opposites attracting before inevitably repelling. For any relationship between these signs to thrive, both must develop genuine appreciation for how the other's mind works. Capricorns need to recognize that Gemini's adaptability isn't flakiness, but a different kind of intelligence that allows them to navigate complex, rapidly changing situations with remarkable skill. Geminis must understand that Capricorn's steadfastness isn't stubbornness, but a powerful commitment to building something enduring in a world of impermanence. Number 2, Sagittarius, the cosmic archer, always aiming for the distant horizons beyond what the eye can see, represents a particularly vexing challenge for our grounded Capricorn friends. If Gemini frustrates Capricorn with intellectual inconsistency, Sagittarius drives them to distraction with their seemingly reckless approach to life's responsibilities and boundaries. Imagine a Capricorn carefully constructing the walls of their life, career, savings, reputation, plans, brick by methodical brick. Then along gallops Sagittarius, a wild centaur with a bow, shooting flaming arrows over those walls and laughing as they land who knows where. Ruled by expansive Jupiter, Sagittarians possess an innate optimism that borders on supernatural. Where Capricorns see potential problems requiring careful navigation, Sagittarians see exciting adventures and learning opportunities. This fundamental difference in outlook colors every interaction between these signs. A Capricorn might say, "We need to budget carefully for this project," while a Sagittarius responds, "The universe will provide," leaving the Capricorn wondering if they're the only adult in the room. The Sagittarian approach to risk represents perhaps the deepest philosophical divide between these signs. Capricorns assess risk meticulously, weighing potential rewards against potential consequences, always with an eye toward long-term security. They understand that true freedom comes from creating stable foundations that can weather life's inevitable storms. Sagittarians, however, view risk as the very spice of life, the essential ingredient that makes experiences meaningful. For them, the greatest risk isn't failure, but rather the possibility of a life unlived, adventures untaken, and horizons unexplored. This divergence creates scenarios where both signs believe they're acting responsibly, yet from completely different definitions of responsibility. A Capricorn feels responsible for creating security and meeting obligations, while a Sagittarius feels responsible for pursuing truth and expanding possibilities. When a Sagittarius impulsively quits a stable job to backpack across South America in search of meaning, a Capricorn doesn't just disagree with the decision. They fundamentally cannot comprehend the value system that produced it. Communication styles further exacerbate the tension. Capricorns choose their words carefully, considering implications and potential interpretations before speaking. They value precision and clarity. Sagittarians, with their ruling planet, Jupiter's expansive influence, communicate in broad strokes and sweeping philosophies. They blurt out whatever truths they've currently discovered, often with unfiltered honesty that can feel like a verbal battering ram to the more socially cautious Capricorn. This bluntness extends beyond words to a general lack of filter that Capricorns find deeply unsettling. At a professional dinner, a Sagittarius might cheerfully announce this company's marketing strategy is completely outdated, leaving their Capricorn colleague mortified as they mentally calculate the career damage from such tactlessness. Where Capricorns navigate social interactions with strategic awareness of politics and perceptions, Sagittarians charge ahead with a conviction that truth trumps tact every time. Even their approach to knowledge creates friction. Capricorns value expertise, deep, specialized knowledge built methodically over time. They respect credentials, experience, and proven methodologies. Sagittarians, conversely, value wisdom, broad, interconnected insights gathered from diverse experiences. They might dismiss an expert's carefully researched conclusion in favor of something they learned from a shaman during their travels in Peru, leaving Capricorns baffled at what seems like intellectual arrogance. Time management represents another battlefield. Capricorns structure their time with precision, understanding that discipline creates freedom in the long run. Sagittarians relate to time more fluidly, often arriving late because they got caught up in a fascinating conversation or took a spontaneous detour. To a Capricorn, this chronic lateness feels like a personal affront, a statement that their time isn't valued. To a Sagittarius, rigid adherence to arbitrary time constraints feels like unnecessary imprisonment. Their contrasting approaches to commitment create perhaps the most painful misunderstandings. Capricorns commit fully and expect the same in return. When they say they'll do something, it's essentially carved in stone. Sagittarians commit to what feels right in the moment, with an implicit understanding that they reserve the right to change course if their truth or circumstances evolve. A Sagittarius might agree to attend a Capricorn's carefully planned event, only to call the day before with an exciting alternative that just came up, leaving the Capricorn feeling betrayed by what seems like callous disregard. The philosophical clash extends to how they view boundaries. Capricorns, ruled by boundary-enforcing Saturn, respect and maintain clear delineations between personal and professional, appropriate and inappropriate, responsible and irresponsible. Sagittarians see boundaries as artificial constructs to be questioned and often transgressed in pursuit of larger truths. They might share deeply personal information in professional settings or blur the lines between friendship and romance in ways that make boundary-conscious Capricorns profoundly uncomfortable. Even their physical spaces reflect this fundamental difference. Capricorns create ordered environments where everything has its place, efficient systems that support productivity and goals. Sagittarians exist in more chaotic spaces filled with treasures from their travels, books on disparate subjects, and projects in various states of completion. To a Capricorn, entering a Sagittarian space can feel like walking into a physical manifestation of attention deficit disorder. What makes this cosmic incompatibility particularly poignant is that both signs actually share a core desire for freedom. They simply define and pursue it differently. Capricorns seek freedom through mastery, stability, and the power that comes from building something enduring. Sagittarians seek freedom through exploration, experience, and the wisdom that comes from embracing life's infinite variety. In their purest expressions, both approaches have profound merit, but the clash of methodologies creates constant friction. For any relationship between these signs to succeed, both must develop genuine respect for the other's philosophy of life. Capricorns need to recognize that Sagittarian wanderlust isn't immaturity, but a different kind of growth process, one that expands through breadth rather than depth. Sagittarians must understand that Capricorn structure isn't limitation, but architecture, the necessary scaffolding that allows certain kinds of achievement and security to manifest. The irony is that these signs have much to teach each other, if only they could move past mutual exasperation. Capricorns could benefit from occasionally leaping before looking, allowing spontaneity to introduce new possibilities into their carefully constructed lives. Sagittarians could benefit from implementing some Capricorn discipline, giving their brilliant ideas the structure needed to manifest in tangible form rather than remaining theoretical. Number 3, Aquarius. the cosmic water bearer, pouring innovation and disruption into the collective consciousness, presents Capricorn with a paradoxical challenge, unlike any other zodiac relationship. At first glance, these signs should get along splendidly. Both are traditionally ruled by Saturn, though modern astrology gives Aquarius to Uranus. Both value intelligence and thoughtful analysis, and both tend to approach life with a certain emotional detachment. Yet beneath these surface similarities lies a philosophical chasm so vast it might as well separate different universes. Imagine a stately government building, its architecture reflecting centuries of tradition and authority. Inside, a Capricorn works diligently within the established system, climbing the hierarchical ladder through dedication and respect for institutional wisdom. Outside, an Aquarius has organized a protest, questioning the very premise of the institution and proposing radical alternatives that would fundamentally restructure society. Both believe they're working toward a better world, yet their methods couldn't be more diametrically opposed. This tension begins with their relationship to authority and tradition. Capricorns respect the wisdom embedded in established structures. They understand that institutions and hierarchies, while imperfect, provide necessary order and continuity. They believe in working within systems to gradually improve them through competence and proven merit. Aquarians, by contrast, question the very legitimacy of existing power structures. They see traditions not as repositories of wisdom, but as calcified thought patterns that often perpetuate inequality and stifle human potential. When these opposing viewpoints collide in real-world scenarios, the friction can be palpable. A Capricorn executive might implement time-tested management practices that have proven effective for decades, only to have an Aquarian colleague question why the company hierarchy exists at all, suggesting instead a radical restructuring where decisions are made through collective consensus. The Capricorn sees practical efficiency being sacrificed on the altar of idealistic theory. The Aquarius sees human potential being crushed under the boot of outdated authoritarianism. Even their approach to innovation reveals this fundamental divide. Capricorns innovate incrementally. They value improvements that build upon proven foundations, carefully tested before implementation. Their innovations tend to strengthen existing structures rather than replacing them. Aquarians innovate disruptively. They envision entirely new paradigms, revolutionary approaches that often require dismantling current systems. They are comfortable with creative destruction, believing that sometimes the old must be cleared away for the truly new to emerge. This difference manifests in how they solve problems. When faced with a challenge, Capricorns look to historical precedents, best practices, and established methodologies. They ask, how has this been solved before? And build upon that knowledge. Aquarians approach the same challenge by questioning fundamental assumptions and imagining solutions that might never have been tried. They ask, why do we believe this problem exists in this form? And often reframe the issue entirely. Their contrasting relationship with community further highlights the disconnect. Capricorns value social structures based on clear roles, responsibilities, and hierarchies. They understand their place within various communities and fulfill their obligations accordingly. Aquarians envision communities based on shared ideals and collective consciousness, where traditional roles are fluid and hierarchies are flattened. They prioritize ideological alignment over social convention, often feeling more connected to like-minded strangers across the globe than to family members with different values. Even their expressions of individualism take opposing forms. Capricorns express their individuality through mastery and achievement within established frameworks, becoming the best in their field, reaching the pinnacle of their profession, perfecting traditional skills. Aquarians express individualism through intellectual and social uniqueness, developing unconventional perspectives, embracing eccentric lifestyles, or pioneering unusual approaches that differentiate them from the mainstream. Communication styles create another layer of friction. Capricorns communicate pragmatically, focusing on concrete realities, practical implications, and specific outcomes. They value clear, unambiguous language that leads to definitive conclusions and actionable plans. Aquarians communicate conceptually, exploring theoretical possibilities, systemic patterns, and abstract principles. They are comfortable with ambiguity, paradox, and open-ended discussions that may not yield immediate practical applications. Their divergent relationship with emotions compounds these differences. While both signs tend toward intellectual approaches to life, they process emotional information differently. Capricorns compartmentalize emotions, addressing them privately and maintaining composed exteriors in professional and social contexts. They view emotional regulation as a sign of maturity and responsibility. Aquarians intellectualize emotions, analyzing feelings as interesting data points rather than subjective experiences that require processing. They often approach emotional situations with detached curiosity rather than empathetic engagement. Perhaps most fundamentally, these signs differ in their orientation toward the past and future. Capricorns maintain deep connections to history and tradition. They understand themselves as links in a long chain extending backward through time, carrying forward ancestral wisdom and institutional knowledge. Aquarians orient primarily towards the future. They envision themselves as catalysts for evolution, willing to sever ties with outdated traditions to manifest new possibilities for humanity's development. This temporal disconnect creates scenarios where neither can fully comprehend the other's priorities. A Capricorn might invest years restoring a historic building according to original specifications, preserving architectural heritage for future generations. An Aquarius might propose converting that same building into an experimental community space that breaks all conventions of design and usage. Each finds the other's approach nonsensical because they're operating from entirely different assumptions about what constitutes value. The irony in this cosmic mismatch is that both signs genuinely believe they're working toward the greater good. Capricorns preserve and improve existing structures to maintain stability and enable gradual progress. Aquarians challenge and reimagine these structures to catalyze quantum leaps in human potential. Both approaches have merit, but the methodological clash creates constant tension. For any relationship between these signs to thrive, both must recognize the legitimate wisdom in the other's perspective. Capricorns need to acknowledge that sometimes systems become so fundamentally flawed that revolutionary thinking becomes necessary, that not all traditions deserve preservation simply because they're established. Aquarians must recognize that stable structures provide necessary foundations for human flourishing, that not all conventions should be dismantled simply because they're traditional. The potential for growth in this relationship lies precisely in this tension. Capricorns can learn to question assumptions they've taken for granted, opening space for more innovative approaches. Aquarians can learn to channel their revolutionary thinking into practical forms that acknowledge the complexity of implementation in real-world contexts. Together, they represent the delicate balance between preservation and evolution that all societies must navigate. Number 4. Aries, the cosmic ram, charging headfirst into every situation with blazing enthusiasm and unwavering confidence, completes our quartet of signs that test Capricorn's legendary patience. Where Aquarius challenges Capricorn's relationship with structure through intellectual revolution, Aries challenges their methodical nature through raw, unbridled action. If Capricorns approach life as a carefully plotted chess game, where each move builds strategically toward victory, Aries plays with the frenetic energy of someone who might flip the entire board at any moment, simply because waiting for their turn feels unbearable. Ruled by Mars, the planet of action, combat, and desire, Aries embodies a primal force that stands in stark contrast to Capricorn's measured restraint. This fundamental difference manifests immediately in their pacing and energy. Capricorns operate like master stonemasons, methodically placing each brick, ensuring proper alignment, building structures designed to withstand centuries. Aries operates like a wildfire, consuming everything in its path with spectacular intensity, transforming landscapes overnight, leaving both destruction and fertile ground for new growth in its wake. The temporal disconnect between these signs creates constant friction. Capricorns inherently understand that meaningful achievement requires patience, the willingness to delay gratification, to build foundations before reaching for heights, to invest consistent effort over extended periods. Aries exists almost exclusively in the immediate moment, burning with an urgency that makes waiting feel not just uncomfortable, but almost morally wrong. When an Aries colleague bursts into a Capricorn's office with an idea that must be implemented immediately, the Capricorn's insistence on proper procedures and thoughtful consideration feels like deliberate obstruction rather than responsible leadership. Their contrasting approaches to challenges further highlights this division. Capricorns tackle obstacles through careful analysis, strategic planning, and persistent effort. They respect the resistance they encounter, understanding that meaningful achievements rarely come easily. Aries approaches challenges through direct confrontation, overwhelming force, and sheer determination. They view resistance as something to be conquered through immediate action, often mistaking Capricorn's thoughtful hesitation for fear or weakness. Even their definitions of courage reveal this fundamental disconnect. For Capricorns, true courage means persevering through difficulties, maintaining commitment when progress is slow, and making sacrifices today for benefits that may not materialize for years. For Aries, courage means taking immediate risks, confronting threats directly, and being willing to act decisively without guarantees. An Aries might impulsively invest their savings in a promising startup, while a Capricorn methodically builds a diversified portfolio over decades, both requiring courage but of entirely different varieties. Communication styles create another significant source of tension. Capricorns communicate with precision and economy, carefully considering each word's implications before speaking. They value substantive content delivered at an appropriate moment. Aries communicates with passionate immediacy, expressing thoughts as they arise without filtration or strategic timing. When disagreements occur, Capricorns prefer to step back, process privately, and address issues once emotions have settled. Aries prefers to confront conflicts instantly, viewing delayed responses as emotional dishonesty or passive aggression. This difference becomes particularly apparent in how they handle anger. Capricorns typically internalize frustration, processing it privately before articulating concerns in controlled, measured terms. They may experience intense emotions, but rarely display them openly, believing that emotional regulation demonstrates maturity and respect for social contexts. Aries experiences and expresses anger almost simultaneously. A flash of irritation becomes an immediate verbal response or visible reaction. To a Capricorn, this unfiltered emotional expression seems childishly impulsive. To an Aries, Capricorn's controlled response seems calculating and inauthentic. Their divergent relationship with authority creates another friction point. Capricorns generally respect hierarchical structures and work within them, understanding that systems function effectively when roles and responsibilities are clearly defined. They tend to earn authority gradually through demonstrated competence and reliability. Aries challenges authority instinctively, questioning directives and resisting constraints regardless of source. They believe authority should be earned through decisive action and proven in each interaction rather than established through position or precedent. Even their physical movements reflect this fundamental difference. Capricorns tend to move deliberately, conserving energy and maintaining awareness of their surroundings. They inhabit space with conscious intention, respecting boundaries and established patterns of navigation. Aries moves dynamically, taking up space with expansive gestures, changing directions suddenly, and physically expressing their internal momentum. In shared environments, Capricorns find this constant motion distracting and disruptive, while Aries finds Capricorns' measured movements frustratingly restrictive. Their relationship with projects through time illustrates perhaps their most significant incompatibility. Capricorns commit to long-term endeavors, understanding that meaningful achievements require sustained effort across extended periods. They derive satisfaction from steady progress toward distant goals, celebrating incremental milestones along the way. Aries exhibits intense but often temporary enthusiasm, throwing themselves completely into new initiatives, but frequently moving on when the initial excitement fades. To Capricorns, this pattern seems flighty and undisciplined. To Aries, Capricorn's persistent plodding seems unnecessarily rigid and joyless. The professional dynamics between these signs highlight these tensions. A Capricorn manager might implement comprehensive systems with detailed protocols designed to ensure consistent quality and steady progress. An Aries employee might constantly circumvent these systems in the name of efficiency or innovation, viewing procedures as arbitrary obstacles rather than necessary safeguards. The Capricorn sees the Aries as dangerously reckless. The Aries sees the Capricorn as needlessly bureaucratic. Perhaps most fundamentally, these signs differ in their orientation toward control. Capricorns value mastery over themselves, their environments, their circumstances. They believe that discipline and structure create freedom by establishing reliable foundations from which to operate. Aries values liberation, the ability to act without constraint, to follow instincts without hesitation, to express authentic impulses without filtering. They believe that freedom comes from removing barriers to immediate action and authentic expression. What makes this cosmic clash particularly challenging is that both approaches have genuine merit in different contexts. In crisis situations requiring immediate response, Aries' instinctive action orientation can be literally life-saving. In complex endeavors requiring sustained effort over time, Capricorn's disciplined persistence creates achievements that would be impossible through sporadic effort alone. Each sign embodies wisdom the other genuinely needs at different moments in life. For any relationship between these signs to flourish, both must develop appreciation for the legitimate strengths in the other's approach. Capricorns need to recognize that sometimes immediate action is necessary, that excessive deliberation can become paralyzing when decisive response is required. Aries must acknowledge that sustainable progress requires systems and patience, that not every impulse deserves immediate expression simply because it feels urgent in the moment. The potential for growth in this relationship lies in this very tension. Capricorns can learn to access their instinctive responses more readily, allowing spontaneity to bring fresh energy into their carefully structured lives. Aries can learn to harness their tremendous initiative through strategic channels, giving their brilliance the sustained attention needed to create lasting impact, rather than merely temporary excitement. These four signs, Gemini with their mercurial changeability, Sagittarius with their boundary-dissolving expansiveness, Aquarius with their revolutionary vision, and Aries with their impulsive force, challenge different aspects of the Capricorn temperament. Yet in each challenging relationship lies the seed of growth, the opportunity for Capricorns to integrate qualities they naturally lack, and for these other signs to benefit from Capricorn's gifts of structure, persistence, and practical wisdom. As we've journeyed through the cosmic landscape of compatibility, we've uncovered the four signs that most consistently challenge our steadfast Capricorns. Each represents a different form of energetic friction that tests the mountain goat's legendary patience and disciplined nature. Gemini, with their mercurial adaptability, frustrates Capricorn's need for consistency and reliable planning. Their quick-changing minds and flexible approach to commitments create a fundamental disconnect with Capricorn's methodical, structured way of moving through the world. The twins' ability to hold contradictory perspectives simultaneously feels intellectually dishonest to Capricorn's straightforward approach to truth. Sagittarius challenges Capricorn with their philosophical expansiveness and seeming disregard for practical limitations. The Archer's optimistic faith that things will work out clashes dramatically with Capricorn's belief that things work out precisely because you've carefully planned for every contingency. Their blunt honesty and boundary-crossing tendencies disrupt the social order Capricorns work so diligently to maintain. Aquarius presents a paradoxical challenge, sharing Capricorn's intellectual orientation, but directing it toward revolutionary rather than evolutionary change. While Capricorns respect and work within established systems, Aquarians question the very foundations of those systems, proposing radical alternatives that often feel unnecessarily disruptive to tradition-honoring Capricorns. Their detached approach to emotional matters further complicates this complex relationship. Aries completes our astrological quartet with their impulsive force and demand for immediate action. Where Capricorns patiently build toward distant goals through consistent effort, Aries charges forward with intense but often unsustainable momentum. Their unfiltered emotional expression and resistance to procedural constraints represent everything Capricorns find most unsettling about unpredictable human nature. Yet within each of these challenging dynamics lies profound opportunity for growth. These cosmic tensions aren't arbitrary, but rather perfectly designed invitations for evolution. Capricorns who learn to incorporate some Gemini adaptability gain flexibility without sacrificing structure. Those who embrace a touch of Sagittarian optimism find their practical efforts infused with newfound meaning and possibility. Capricorns who open themselves to Aquarian innovation discover fresh approaches to long-standing challenges. And those who channel a bit of Aries' initiative find they can move forward with greater momentum while maintaining their fundamental stability. The cosmic dance between these signs reminds us that astrology isn't about determining who we're destined to clash with, but rather about understanding the dynamics at play so we can navigate relationships with greater awareness and compassion. The very qualities that drive us crazy in others often represent precisely what we need to integrate for our own wholeness. We at Secret of the Zodiac are committed to bringing you these deeper astrological insights that go beyond simplistic compatibility ratings to explore the complex interplay between signs. Our mission is to help you understand not just what happens in your relationships, but why it happens and how you can work with these energies more consciously. If you found value in this exploration of Capricorn's challenging relationships, we invite you to become part of our growing cosmic community. Subscribe to Secret of the Zodiac to ensure you never miss our upcoming videos, including our companion piece on the 4 signs most compatible with Capricorn, coming next week. Your engagement makes this journey possible. Take a moment to like this video, as it helps others discover this content and expands our collective conversation. Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Are you a Capricorn who struggles with these signs? Or perhaps you're one of these 4 signs with your own perspective on Capricorn relationships. Your stories enrich our understanding and help others feel less alone in their astrological challenges. We'd also be deeply grateful if you would consider supporting our work through Super Thanks. This form of financial contribution helps cover the costs associated with researching, producing, and editing daily astrological content of this quality. Your support directly enables us to delve deeper into these cosmic patterns and bring you more nuanced explorations of astrological relationships. Take a moment to browse our extensive library of videos covering every aspect of zodiac compatibility, personality traits, and cosmic influences. From deep dives into specific sign combinations to broader explorations of astrological principles, our channel offers a wealth of knowledge for both beginners and those well-versed in celestial wisdom. Thank you for joining us on this astrological journey. Remember that the stars don't dictate our fate, but rather illuminate the patterns and potentials within our relationships. With awareness comes choice, and with choice comes the power to transform even the most challenging cosmic connections into opportunities for growth and deeper understanding. Until our cosmic paths cross again in the next video, may the stars illuminate your journey with clarity and wisdom.